exactly knows how to win, and I don't believe that's Mr. Trump, and I know it's not Hillary Clinton.
Governor Pataki, you mentioned Donald Trump in your opening statement.
Yes,
you've also suggested Mr. Trump's plan is un-American and absurd. Why?
Absolutely. It's one of many absurd things this president has said. To target a religion and say that regardless of whether you're an American soldier who's fought on our side or allies we have overseas, simply because of your religion, we're going to ban you, is un-American, it is unconstitutional, and it is wrong. And by the way, Wolf, you know, there was a group that tried to do that 150, 160 years ago. They were called the Know Nothing Party. They wanted to ban Catholics. They thought they were going to destroy America. Well, Donald Trump is the Know Nothing candidate of the 21st century and cannot be our nominee. But by the way, though, I fault Hillary and Obama as well, because by not distinguishing between Muslims and radicalized jihadists, by refusing to acknowledge that it is radical Muslim, radical Islamists who are carrying out these attacks against America, they let Americans who are confused and angry lump everyone together. We have to embrace the Muslims who embrace our freedom and living in safety. We have to destroy those who embrace jihad and want to engage in violence against us, here or abroad.
Senator Santorum, you object to Mr. Trump's proposals on the grounds that it's unworkable. You've made religious liberty a hallmark of your career. Do you believe in religious liberty for Muslims as well as Christians?
Of course I do. But what Donald Trump was saying was nothing against Muslims. His comment was against this administration, who doesn't have a policy to properly vet people coming into this country. Let's just be honest about what's being talked about here. And I know people will pile on because it makes sense to pile on, maybe from the polls. But he brings up a legitimate issue. The fact of the matter is, not all Muslims are jihadists, and no one, including I suspect Donald Trump, would say that. But the reality is, all jihadists are Muslims. That's a reality. And we have to stop worrying about offending some people and start defending all Americans, because we're not right now.
Senator Graham.
Rick, please understand the only way we're going to win the war against radical Islam is for the world to unite. Very few fathers and mothers want to turn their daughters and sons over to ISIL. If you spend any time in the region, you know that. Muslims have died by the thousands fighting this hateful ideology. You can say what you like, but when you utter the word, I will ban all Americans, all Muslims from coming to America, how do you think the King of Jordan must feel to hear that? He is our friend. He is our ally. This is not the way to make America safe. This is the way to help our enemies. Stop this before it's too late.
Senator Santorum.
I would agree that Donald Trump's proposal was not the right proposal. But he brings up a very important issue that I think we've been ignoring for far too long in this country. The reality is that, yes, we need to get reformist Muslims to join us. We need to get those who are being persecuted and killed within the Middle East to join us. But we also have to protect this country from those who want to harm us, and we have to defeat those who are radicalized in the Middle East and wherever we find them around the world.
Governor Huckabee, you called Mr. Trump's plan to ban Muslims impossible and unconstitutional, but what is your specific plan to prevent would-be jihadists from carrying out attacks against Americans?
Well, let me begin by saying I'm not that afraid of Donald Trump, and in the sense that I'd rather him be president than I had Hillary be president any day. And so if he becomes president, I think he will do a whole lot more to protect us than Hillary will, and a whole lot more than Barack Obama has done in his 8 years. So I want to make it very clear that when I was making that comment, I was simply speaking that I'm not sure that you can have a religious test per se. And it's very impractical, because if somebody comes to our borders and says, I'd like to come in, they say, are you a Muslim? Well, if they're going to come in here to kill us, they're not going to say, yeah, and I'm coming to kill you. They're going to lie about it. Anybody that will kill you, for God's sake, will lie to you. So that's why I say it's impractical. But what he has done, and I don't think a lot of people understand, he has touched a nerve, because people are angry and afraid that we are facing an enemy that this administration refuses to acknowledge, refuses to want to go fight. And our only answer is to go after ISIS. and to go after every form of radical Islam where they are, take them down so they never get here and do what they did in San Bernardino again, ever.
The terror attacks in Paris and San Bernardino have sparked a debate here in the United States about the balance between privacy and security. I want to bring in CNN's Dana Bash and Hugh Hewitt for more on this.
Senator Santorum, you want to give the intelligence community more power to collect Americans' phone data. But the government had this ability until just days before the San Bernardino attacks. If it couldn't prevent San Bernardino, why will it protect America?
Just because it couldn't prevent San Bernardino doesn't mean that we shouldn't have all tools available to us that doesn't impinge upon people's privacy. This metadata collection is not collecting people's phone calls, their voices. They're not collecting information that's personal. There's no names attached to these numbers. They're simply numbers and times and relationships that through algorithms that computer technology can be able to sort through relationships about what numbers are calling what numbers and be able to track those down to see if there's any linkages between someone who's potentially a terrorist. That is, to me, just fundamental, that we have to have this type of data to be able to not impinge upon people's privacy. In fact, I would make the argument the more data we can collect that's anonymous, that we can go through using algorithms, the less we need to involve people in imposing themselves in people's privacy.
Senator Graham, when this program was exposed, you said you have nothing to worry about if you're not talking to terrorists. Do you understand why some Americans are concerned that the government is keeping tabs on them in any way?
Well, here's what I'm here to tell you. When I first started this process of running for president, I said, if you don't realize we need more American boots on the ground in Iraq and eventually in Syria as part of a regional army, you're not ready to be commander-in-chief. Like, nobody said a word. Now everybody's on board except Senator Paul. Senator Paul and Senator Cruz are isolationists. They both want to restrict the ability of the NSA to do the following. Find out if somebody overseas is calling into America, and if somebody's on the other end of the phone, don't you want to know who they're talking to? If a terrorist is calling into America and we can match up phone numbers, we get a court order to find out what the content is. We're at war, folks. They're not trying to steal your car. They're trying to kill us all. So yes, I would reinstitute this program. There's 4 things you need to understand about this war. It's a religious war, them against the world. If you don't fight them over there, they're coming here. If you don't hit them first, they're going to hit us. If you're not determined to fight it as a war, you're going to lose it. So if you're worried about somebody having your phone number in the government, don't be. The only thing you need to worry about is if you're talking to a terrorist and a judge gives an order to listen to what you're saying. That's all you need to worry about.
Thank you. Governor Huckabee, you said